Bill Hemmer has spent nearly 30 years reporting the worst moments in modern history. Yet, the one story he never talks about is his own. Viewers know his steady voice during national crisis. But they don't see the personal cost of a life built entirely around breaking news. While rumors have circled him for more than a decade, Hemmer has quietly lived without a wife, without a family, and without explanation. And now looking back at the path he chose, the reasons behind his solitude become far more complicated and far more heartbreaking than anyone realized. Building a legacy in journalism. Bill Hemmer's life in journalism began long before he ever stepped onto a national set. Growing up in Cincinnati, he discovered broadcasting as a teenager, hosting a small student-run radio show. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't paid. And it certainly wasn't something most kids his age would care about. But it gave him something he couldn't find anywhere else, a sense of purpose. Even at 16, he treated every broadcast as if the world were listening, staying after school to rehearse, editing his own notes, rewriting his scripts long after his classmates had gone home. While other teenagers experimented with relationships, parties, and weekend adventures, Hemmer was already training himself for a career that would eventually demand everything from him. That early seriousness wasn't an accident. It was the beginning of a pattern that would define the rest of his life. When he entered Miami University, that commitment only intensified. He didn't just study journalism. He lived it. Every elective he chose, every club he joined, every internship he applied for revolved around media. He spent hours in campus radio, stayed late in student newsrooms, and rarely took breaks. College is often a time when people explore socially, build early relationships, and discover who they are outside of academics. But for Hemmer, everything was channeled into one direction. He wasn't building a social life. He was building a career. After graduation, there was no pause, no year off, no attempt to find himself the way many young adults do. He jumped straight into television, taking a sports reporting job at WCPO-TV in Cincinnati. Covering sports might sound simple, but the reality was far more demanding. Late nights, weekend shifts, unpredictable schedules, and constant pressure to deliver live, accurate information. Hemmer thrived in that environment. He loved the immediacy, the adrenaline, the challenge of narrating events as they unfolded. But those early years also revealed something else. When the choice came down to personal time or professional growth, Hemmer always chose the job. That relentless drive eventually caught CNN's attention. In 1995, at just 30 years old, he made the leap from regional television to national news. A move that would transform him from a local reporter into a recognizable figure in American broadcasting. The next decade was punishing, exhilarating, and defining. He was sent everywhere. Hurricanes, political conventions, breaking investigations, and some of the darkest events in modern history. The 2000 Florida recount became the moment that pushed him into the national spotlight. He spent weeks living out of suitcases, eating between live shots, and enduring relentless pressure. He earned the nickname the Chad Lad. But behind the recognition was a personal life slipping further and further away. Then came September 11, 2001, and everything changed. Hemmer was dispatched to Afghanistan reporting from a war zone. The danger, the isolation, the emotional weight of witnessing a global crisis up close. It was the kind of assignment that shifts a person's perspective forever. And it left no space for dating, stability, or building a home life. By the time he left CNN in 2005, Hemmer had lived through more breaking news than most anchors experience in a lifetime. His career was rising rapidly, but his personal life had quietly disappeared behind him, overshadowed by a job that consumed almost everything he had to give. Fox News, rising fame, and the quiet collapse of his personal life. When Bill Hemmer joined Fox News in 2005, it marked both a triumph and a silent turning point. Professionally, it was the greatest opportunity of his life. Personally, it was the moment his remaining chances at balance began to slip away. The network immediately recognized his reliability under pressure, his calm delivery, and his rare ability to navigate chaos without losing clarity. That reality made Hemmer incredibly valuable. He became so essential that Fox began positioning him at the center of nearly every major national story. He rose to co-anchor America's Newsroom, where he eventually partnered with Dana Perino. Their chemistry, grounded in mutual discipline and a shared instinct for news, helped turn the program into one of the network's most trusted morning broadcasts. Viewers admired their confidence and consistency, and executives leaned heavily on Hemmer during the most uncertain news cycles. But behind the camera, that trust carried a heavy price. While others clocked out for the day, Hemmer often kept going. When breaking news erupted overnight, he was expected to be available before dawn. When tragedies unfolded, sometimes more than one at a time, he was the one sent to the front lines. Fox needed him everywhere: elections in Iowa, hurricanes in Florida, terror investigations in Boston, earthquake aftermath in Haiti, London in 2005 after the bombings, and military-based shootings in Texas. Every assignment meant leaving home with little warning, often for long stretches. This was not a job that allowed planning dinner next week, promising to be home for an anniversary, or even scheduling a simple weekend with someone you loved. His life was built around uncertainty, and that uncertainty slowly became the enemy of his personal life. During this period, he remained in a relationship with Canadian model Dara Tomanovic, whom he began dating the same year he joined Fox. On paper, it appeared to be a glamorous pairing, a successful news anchor and a global fashion model. In reality, their lives ran on opposite schedules. Her career revolved around photo shoots, brand events, and fashion circles far removed from journalism. His life centered on deadlines, breaking stories, and constant deployment. They tried to navigate that distance for 8 years, but the cracks widened with every missed holiday, every abrupt trip, and every moment sacrificed. Time and again, he chose the story over the relationship, choices he had been making since high school. By 2013, the relationship quietly ended. There was no announcement, no explanation, not even a quote in the press. It was as if both understood that the life he lived could never fully include someone else. Only after their breakup did the public learn of Tomanovic's DUI arrest, which briefly pulled their private history into the tabloids. For Hemmer, an intensely private man, the attention reinforced a long-held fear: the closer his personal life came to the spotlight, the faster it fractured. After that, he never publicly confirmed another relationship. There were no red carpets, no photos with a partner, and no comments to the media. As his Fox career soared, his personal world shrank into silence. The more successful he became, the further a normal life drifted away, leaving only rumors, silence, and the weight of public curiosity. Once Bill Hemmer's relationship with Dara Tomanovic ended in 2013, a strange shift took place. Rather than fading from public speculation, his personal life became a canvas for endless assumptions. Every woman he stood beside, interviewed, or co-anchored with became headline material. His silence, meant to protect his privacy, only fueled curiosity. One of the first names pulled into the rumor mill was Sandra Smith, his co-anchor on America's Newsroom. Their on-air chemistry, forged through countless hours of collaboration, was misinterpreted by viewers convinced that any man and woman who appeared comfortable on television must be romantically involved. The rumors grew so intense that Smith's marriage to marketing executive John Connolly had to be repeatedly cited in the press simply to calm speculation. Nothing had ever happened between them, yet the public refused to accept that two professionals could simply be colleagues. Next came Megyn Kelly. Their friendly interactions during her years at Fox sparked a second wave of gossip. Both Kelly and Hemmer denied any romantic connection, emphasizing mutual respect and professional camaraderie. Still, denial was not enough. His continued bachelor status turned every woman into a potential storyline. Dana Perino, perhaps his closest professional partner, became the third name linked to him. Their long-standing relationship on America's Newsroom, built on trust, timing, and shared responsibility during breaking news, was misread as something deeper. Perino, married since 1998, never commented on the rumors. Neither did he. Their dignified silence only fed the public imagination. Then came 2019, a year that changed everything. An edited shirtless photo circulated online claiming to show Hemmer. It was fake, later traced back to an altered photo of Tiger Woods, but the damage was done. The doctored image fueled speculation about his sexuality, pushing the normally private anchor into a rare moment of defense. He clarified publicly that the photo was fabricated and even referenced having a girlfriend, though he offered no further details, no identity, no timeline. To the public, his relationships became mysteries. To Hemmer, they were simply no one else's business. But the weight of constant speculation slowly reshaped his life into something even quieter, even more guarded. The demands of the job and the life that never had space to grow. For most people, a demanding job means long days or stressful deadlines. For Bill Hemmer, it meant building a life where everything, every moment, every choice was dictated by the next breaking story. To many viewers, he appeared simply dedicated, a hardworking anchor who always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. But behind that polished professionalism was a truth far more complex. His job was never just a job. It was an all-consuming force that shaped every part of his existence. The life of a national news anchor requires a constant state of readiness. His days often began before dawn and stretched late into the night. When news broke, he had to be available no matter the hour, the holiday, or the plans he had already made. Hurricanes, shootings, elections, terrorist attacks, political upheaval. These events didn't wait for him to finish dinner or take a weekend off. They erupted suddenly, violently, and Heimer was expected to be there, holding the country's attention while processing the chaos himself. Some assignments lasted days, others lasted weeks. During the Iraq War, during the aftermath of 9/11, during the Boston Marathon bombing, during the Sandy Hook shooting, Heimer was on the ground standing in the middle of devastation. Those trips didn't just disrupt his personal life, they replaced it. How does someone nurture a relationship when they might receive a call telling them to leave the country within 12 hours? How does someone build a family when their life is a revolving door of airports, hotel rooms, and temporary studios? By the time Heimer reached his mid-50s, a rhythm had solidified, one built around commitment, professionalism, and sacrifice. The stability required for marriage simply never existed. His colleagues admired him. Viewers trusted him. The newsroom depended on him. But trust and admiration don't fill the empty spaces left behind by years of missed holidays, broken plans, and constant departures. In many ways, Heimer didn't choose to live without a wife. The life he committed to simply didn't leave room for one. And as each year passed, the possibility of building something personal drifted a little further out of reach. Service, purpose, and the quiet acceptance of a life lived alone. As Bill Heimer grew older, the shape of his life became clearer. Not chaotic, not accidental, but the natural result of choices made over decades. He didn't have a wife waiting at home, but he did have a sense of purpose that anchored him more deeply than most people ever experience. Beyond the newsroom, Heimer poured himself into service, returning every year to Cincinnati to host the George Niddle Memorial Bailey Place Golf Classic in honor of his grandfather. The event raised funds for Bailey Senior Living, a tribute not just to his family roots, but to the generations that came before him. In a quiet way, it became his form of family life, one built on memory, community, and responsibility rather than marriage or children. Heimer also dedicated time to causes supporting veterans, especially those who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. These weren't performative appearances. They were extensions of the stories he had witnessed firsthand, the sacrifices he had reported on, the men and women whose experiences had shaped the way he covered war and conflict. This work offered him a sense of connection that fulfilled him in ways traditional relationships perhaps never could. Inside the newsroom, his partnerships, particularly with Dana Perino, functioned as a kind of emotional ecosystem. Shared crises, shared deadlines, shared pressure forged bonds of trust that many people only find in family. These relationships didn't follow the pattern society expects, but they were meaningful, sustaining, and central to who he became. And on social media, the glimpses he offered were consistently professional, always respectful, never personal. The boundaries he drew were deliberate, reflecting a man who knew the cost of letting the public too far into his private world. In the end, the reason Bill Heimer never married is neither scandalous nor mysterious. His life evolved around journalism, service, and a deep preference for privacy. The commitments he carried left little space for a family of his own, and over time he accepted that reality without bitterness or regret. His legacy became the work, the service, the steadiness he brought to a turbulent world. Quiet proof that fulfillment doesn't always follow the path people expect. Now it's your turn. Do you think Bill Heimer's demanding career left him with no real chance at marriage? Or was it simply his choice to live privately on his own terms? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.